test, another test. Hey, Tom, what's going on? Can you hear me all right? Let's see. I want to bring up the chat. Yeah, all right, there we go. Hey, Dave, BNSFN scale. How you doing? Messing around over here with stupid shit. Alright, I don't have the overlay set up yet, but I'm not really worried about that just yet. I just want to make sure this thing's going to work. So far, I'm in the green, no drop frames. CPU's running at, looks like between 28 and 30%, which is a lot better than before. Before it was running at 70 and 80%. Meaning that there must have been a hell of a load with OBS, so I don't seem to have that problem anymore, which is a good thing. Wants me to sign into the chat. I don't know if I can do that or not. I've still got issues with all these stupid login crap. There's the email. Next. And I want the password. What the hell's my password for that? I don't even remember. Ah, shit. Let's see. Could be... Let's see here. Lucky... $sign. That might be it, might not be. Who knows? Not wrong one. Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna worry about it. I'm so disgusted with this bullshit with passwords on stupid shit like email. They treat email like you're trying to get into Fort Knox. There's no reason for it. Dave said there's snow flurries here in central Wisconsin. That sucks to be you. It's a on Amish horse and buggy on Steel Highway's rail cam in Junction City, Wisconsin a bit earlier. That's cool. Weird. But cool. Yeah, I'm still printing it. Well, you guys saw what I did last night. I'm printing more stuff now in the background there. There's quite a few pieces that have to be printed. If you look in, well, I'm sure you know this, but the file I sent you has pictures as well. The pictures are a good thing to tell you how to put it all together and where to put all the interior parts. So, because I wasn't sure, I was going, oh, I hope there's some pictures with this, because I'm going to have to fool around with it. Whose game? I don't give a shit about these updates. I'll tell you, bullshit. Anyway, so yeah, I just started printing a little while ago, so I'm kind of behind here a little bit. I've been fooling around with OBS. I got different cameras. There's the Doodle Cam. There's the Ease Cam. There's the overhead cam, which I'm having problems with. It might clear up in time, it might not, but I'm not worried about it. I'll have to change USB ports on it. So I've still got that. I've got my intro and outro on there. I'm gonna have to make new videos for the train show booty. I lost the one I had, and the what's the other one? You know, I noticed my picture's awful small on that. I think I got the resolutions kind of fucked up on this here on OBS. I'm gonna have to correct that because it should take up the whole screen and it's not. So I got to figure out what I did wrong. Let's see. Tom says, Jim, you do not put the tower wall all the way. The braces last night. I know, I had them wrong. Like I said, looking at the picture, I figured that out. I had the top on the bottom and vice versa. That's why I said the pictures will be handy for putting it together properly. Dave said it was 65 yesterday, 32 today. Typical Wisconsin spring. That's fucked up, man. I got the AC on in here because it's hot outside. Tom says, Dave, yesterday was 75 in Jersey, and now it's 45. I'm telling you, the weather's weird, man. It's messed up. So, yeah, I got to get this picture straightened out on the live stream. Uh-oh, see, that's bad. I just went to the red, and I got to figure out why. And I've also got 1.1% of drop frames. It's got to be OBS because StreamYard worked fine. So it's not raining outside and the weather's good. Starlink's working fine. So it's got to be OBS. So I don't know. I was talking to my wife about it last night. I said, you know, I can't afford to pay for StreamYard. I mean, it would be a waste of money. I mean, the cheapest system they have is $44 a month and you don't really get any of the extras. To me, that's a big waste of money. The free system, I don't know. There's probably ways around it to get some things. But I also have my Stream Deck, which I want to keep using. So I was thinking, it's expensive, but I might get what Tom Kavicek's got, the vMix. It's like OBS. It's a pay. You got to pay for it, but you can get a lifetime license for around $300 or $400. That's a lot of money, but vMix does everything the StreamYard does and then some. And of course, I could use my Stream Deck with it. So there's a very good probability I may be going over to vMix pretty soon. Because this doesn't seem to be working too well with... I don't know, CPU usage is still down though. So I don't know what the hell the problem is. The CPU usage is between 20 and 28%, which is nothing. Remember, I got a 6-core processor. So I don't know. Tom says, Jim, I use Stream Deck. StreamYard is free version. I can use my Stream Deck with that also. I have to look into that maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure how to use it with Stream Deck, or StreamYard rather, but if it works, then maybe I'll just do that, because OBS seems to be fine, and this is an old version. So, this is not good. You know, I mean, it's just going back and forth. Green, red, yellow, green, red, yellow. Green, yellow, red. It's just... And there's no reason for it. Am I stuttering or buffering on your end? Do you notice? Is there any problem with the audio? I mean... Hey, Signal Cabin, how you doing? Welcome to my Shortline Thursday testing phase. Not an actual Shortline Thursday, just testing OBS. Signal Cabin says no. Alright, so there's no problems? Yeah, I understand that. Why am I showing problems here if there aren't any? Tom says, Jim, loud and clear. Well, maybe it is fine then. So what, is this bullshit or what? Maybe I shouldn't even pay attention to that. I just want to make sure that we got a good stream going because, you know, nobody wants to watch a bullshit stream, right? where there's stuttering and buffering and locking up and all other crap. So if everything's working good, I'll just stick with this for now. But I think ultimately I am going to probably wind up doing vMix though at some point. Jim, what are you looking at? Well, on the bottom of the screen, just above the taskbar, I've got information regarding OBS. So the drop frames, which says 2.7%, which is not great. It says live, of course. It shows the time that I'm been live. I'm not recording, so that's not a problem. And it's got CPU usage. It fluctuates between 28 and 32%. 60 frames per second for my video rate. Then it's got the square box, which change colors. Green, yellow, or red. And then kilobytes per second, which right now is at 3780, which is not bad. And it, like I said, it fluctuates too. Hey Derek, how's it going? Hey Russ, how's it going? Yeah, I know. I've got the resolution or the sizing wrong. You know, and I figured it would be because on the OBS it doesn't look correct. It's got a bigger black area, which is what you're seeing, and a smaller picture area, so I've got to figure out how to change that. And the volume's a little low. Well, that's possible. Let me build up the gain there. Is it that help any with the audio? Jim, that's the problem. Can't rely on OBS for stats. You know it is written by a bunch of different people. They can never get that correct. You're probably right, Tom, you know, because like I said, now it's been in the green for the last minute or two. But there hasn't been any problems since I started the stream. I mean, nothing. If that's cool, then that's good. So, because I pay attention to that shit. But if it's wrong or inaccurate, I'm going to stop paying attention to it. Anfield Road layout in a loft. Hey Lee, how's it going? Of course, like I said, I'm not speaking directly into the mic either. That should be a little better. I mean, on the gauge here, it looks like I'm doing pretty good. I don't know. That helped a little. I will just turn it up. There you go. Yeah, because I don't have the gain all the way up. Yeah, I've got the gain all the way up now. And that doesn't really seem to be helping any. I'm not seeing any real difference on the mic meter on OBS, but that could be an OBS too. That I have no idea. Because I generally have everything turned up all the way. Tom says OBS is an open source program. I never liked that type of program. Would not use them for anything important. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, but a lot of stuff is open source, so you know. Like I said, as long as it's working, that's all I care about. You know, if there's a problem, let me know. And I'll either correct the problem or shit can the idea and go to something else. So I can't change the, I don't think I can change that while I'm live. I kind of doubt it. Let me see here. That'd be under view. Multiple through screen. Maybe window. I don't know, it's not giving me the option to change the picture size. And I don't know why. Let me go into settings. If something happens, I lose you, I'll be back on. I'll just have to restart it, but that video. That's set at 1280 by 720, should be right. Output. Well, everything's right on here, but it's not. Set output mode is simple. There doesn't seem to be any other options for that. I don't know. I'm not showing anything. I'm not showing any way to fix it. Your mic is cool. Oh yeah, it is pretty cool. Thanks, Russ. Hey, I was watching your video today, and I did comment on it, and I'm still not sure what I mean. I was looking at what used to be your train room, I guess. But do you have a new train room, or are you going to redo that into a new train room? I wasn't 100% sure what you were trying to do there or convey. Yeah. Well, I know there's a hell of a lot of wiring in there. Oh. So, I don't know here. Like I said, it's not the resolution, it's the screen size. Is it full screen? Well, that's just it. I can't tell. Let me view. Full screen. I didn't want to do that. I see something completely different here. Try that again. Multi-view windowed. And that brings that shit back up again. I don't know, like I said, I'm not seeing it's supposed to be full screen. I don't fucking know. I'll have to fool around with it. I sent the reply, Jim, that was my old train cave. Yeah, I figured that much. But I don't generally get notified of replies for some reason. So you do have a new train room then, right? I mean, another place where you've got your train room? Or do you not have a layout at the moment? Let's see here. Where the hell did he get to view? Settings. It's got to be a video because that was output. It won't let me change it now. I probably have to change it off while I'm offline. So for the moment, I'll probably have to kill this soon, and then I'll reset it and then come back on. I'll probably be doing this shit all day, right? Hey, Rick's Trades, how you doing? I'm doing a test right now for OBS. I had major computer problems this past week, and I'm slowly getting it corrected. So I wonder if maybe I should go to a newer version of OBS, because I'm running a very old version of OBS and it looks like it may be limited. I don't really know. I don't know why, but it doesn't let me change preview scaling, scale the window. Try that. No, that doesn't work. Full screen, Windows screenshot preview. See what happens if I do this. Oh, that's not good. Windowed. Alright, go back to that. So far I haven't been able to correct this. Preview scaling, scale the window. What the hell does screenshot preview do? Nothing. I don't know, it's not letting me change much here. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna have to go to a newer version. Oh, no new layout yet. Okay, well that's cool. Can't wait for you to get your new layout going so we can see your progress. Tom says, Jim, all the parts will fit on my Mini, but I'm splitting the load between Mini and A1 now. There you go. That'll work. Your image size on my laptop is only about 2 inches square. Yeah, that's about what I'm seeing on my monitor. It sucks, I know. Working on it, Joe. Alright, Dave, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Alright, guys, I'm going to shut this down. And I'm going to try and resize my screen. And it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Wait a minute, there's one thing here I didn't try. Let me open that up. Well, I opened it up on my end, but it's probably locked in on the stream. Alright, I'm going to shut this down. Oh, wait a minute, it's coming up now. There we go, look at that. Not 100%, but pretty close. I got an idea here. Hold on a minute. Over there. There we go. How's that? Well, it'll show up in a minute. There's a bit of a delay from what I see and from what you see. There you go. Now we're at the right size. All right, you good? I got bigger. Yes, I did. I got bigger. Yay! All right, that's what I had to do. And so that was a simple solution. I mean, it cuts out some of my camera availability, but that's fine. So I just put it where I think it should be. Gets all of me in there, and that's good. That's good to go. I'll have to do that with probably the rest of the stuff too. Like I said, I'm figuring it out slowly but surely. Well, actually, they've got like a padlock on the right-hand side of all your inputs. It's like my video capture device, which is the camera. So I unlock the padlock, and it puts up like a red bars around the camera, and you can size and move stuff around. I didn't know you could do that while you were live, because like I said, I've done it not live before. So apparently it could be done while you're live as well. And then I relocked the padlock once I got it to where I want it, and well, now you see the effects of it. Much better. I'm telling you what. Sometimes I feel like a newbie, but even though I've been doing this shit for a while. But you know, you forget a lot of things. If you don't do something all the time, you tend to forget, especially as you get older, you know. Because, I mean, I'm no dummy, but, you know, it's like the other day, well, I had learned basic computer language 40 years ago, you know. I used to write programs in BASIC. Yeah, they weren't that great because, you know, BASIC wasn't that great either. And computers back then didn't really have hard drives or anything, but I mean, I knew it, you know, back of my head. And if, then, you know, all the commands. Go to, CD, change directory. I do all that shit. Well, I went to the command prompt when I was having problems with the Windows here, so I said, I'm just going to do it from the command prompt. So I get to the command prompt with no problem, and I'm going, wait a minute, what the hell do I do? It was stuck on C slash something other slash something or like. So how do I get just to basically back to C? And I had to really think, because it'd been 40 years since I've used that language. I did finally figure it out, but it's tough. So if you don't use something every day, eventually, you kind of tend to forget it. I mean, granted, that was a long time ago and of no real consequence today, but still, it's like, I knew all this shit before. So it's the same thing with, like OBS. All right, so I set it up to begin with, a few years back, but I haven't touched it since then. It's like, oh fuck, I forgot how to do it, So I'm kind of learning on the fly here a little bit, but it is what it is. Russ says well, we're all newbies to some degree in some things. Rick says, has anyone got random warnings from YouTube on your videos? I got warnings out of nowhere on mine after making it where kids can't watch. No, I've not gotten any warnings. I know I had to change my intro, which I did some time back, because they said it was copyright infringement because I was using, basically the non-vocal Crazy Train by the guy that's singing. I forgot his name now, but he said, oh, you can't do that. I got warnings. I didn't get any strikes on it, but so I went ahead. Well, I was able to get the very beginning of it where, he does a little scream thing. And that was okay. And then I added different music behind it. And they said, okay, that's fine. You're not copyright infringing anymore. What fucking difference does it make, right? Not like I'm making money off of it. So I did that, created a new intro, which some of you guys said wasn't that great. You liked the original one better. I agree. But because of YouTube's stupid copyright shit, I couldn't do it anymore. So when the computer messed up, and like I say, I lost some important files, like the intro for, Shortline Thursday. Fortunately, I had moved that stuff over to StreamYard some time back after I, modified it. I was able to extract it back off of StreamYard and load it up on OBS. And it took me a minute to figure out how to do that too, because you had to actually open it up in the StreamYard and then right click on the main screen, and then it says save as. I saved as, and then it gave me the choice to put it on my download on my computer. So otherwise, I was at first I may not be able to do this. This sucks, I'm not making another fucking video. That's crazy. Russ says, with YouTube, I'm a newbie. Well, we all are with YouTube. Russ says, not yet, Rick, but thanks for heads up. All right, as far as the warning goes, yeah. Tom says, Jim, my computer language is basic, COBOL, assembly, Fortran, CICS, HCL. Yeah, you're way, way ahead of me. I started to learn Fortran some time back. But like I said, I haven't needed it. So I forgot most of it, I still know HTML because I was doing website production quite a few years back, and you needed it for that. I don't know what JCL is, or CICS, I've never heard of it. I know COBOL, Fortran, and all that, but I said I started to learn Fortran. I was thinking about learning COBOL, but like I said, at that point, you really didn't need it. Freaking you, Screw. Yeah, there you go. That's why I killed all my videos. I just go into people's shows. That's all I want anyway. I don't blame you, Rick. Hey, Derek, I see you're still here. It's like I said, I'll learn things if I need them. But if you don't use them, ultimately you forget. At least I do anyway. So, I used to know how to do all kinds of shit in high school. You know, I did, the hell is it? There's different types of math. I don't even remember the names of them now. I did all that shit. I wasn't great at it, you know. I was barely passing. You know, what does, I can't remember names of them now, but. And I only did it because at the time, it got me out of the boredom of doing regular math. So, you know, but do I remember any of that shit? Fuck no. There's algebra, pre-algebra, algebra, and what's the one after that? I can't remember now, but I knew all that shit, you know. You know, I knew I was never going to use it. You know. The only thing that I really did use, that I did learn, was geometry. I've used geometry my entire life because, you know, I used to build cars. Of course, you know, now I design 3D shit, and geometry comes in handy with all that stuff. But other than that, I don't need any higher math skills, and I got a fucking smartphone or a calculator if I do. Derek said, Thomas, I never learned, etc. Alright, smartass. I don't forget, but I get really rusty at it. Yeah, that's calculus. Yeah, I did calculus. Trigonometry, that's the one. That was the hardest one for me. I was like, almost failed it. I mean, I was like in a D average, you know. And I had a tough time with that because it was really complicated. But I learned it because I wanted to do things, you know. And just because I was so bored in school, and that's why ultimately I quit in the 10th grade. It was a waste of my fucking time, you know. And of course, I don't use any of that shit now. The only thing I use now is geometry, like I said, and basic math, you know. I still have problems with, what is it, you know, I can't remember half of this shit anymore. Not percentages, it's, oh fuck, I don't even remember, it doesn't matter, you know. I used to do all that shit, can't remember half because I don't do it anymore, you know. Rick says, I have a hard enough time with 2 plus 2. Yeah, there you go. Fractions, that's what I was thinking of. I was real good at fractions, how to, you know, add, subtract, and all that, with fractional numbers. I don't remember half of that shit. Tom said, Jim, I was in engineering before the computer needed all the math for that. That's true. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, you're a smart guy anyway, you know. And mostly because, like you said, you were involved in all that stuff. I wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't have the credentials for it. So that wasn't going to happen. Derek says, probabilities or fractions? Actually, I'm pretty fair at probabilities, you know. But fractions, you know, I said, not so much anymore. I was working on a problem. This is some time back, about maybe a year or so ago, and I had to add 2 fractional numbers to get a whole number, and I had such a hard time with it. I don't remember how to do any of this shit, you know. I haven't done this since I was like 16 years old. So, I mean, you know. And of course, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm pretty fucking old. I'm 66. I mean, not real old, but old enough. And, you know, like I said, when you don't do something for so long, you know, I was a handyman. I did everything but roofing regarding houses and stuff. The only problem is you would get it wrong. That's funny, but true. You know, plus I was a mechanic most of my life, working on cars. I did gas engines, I did diesel, I worked on semis, you know. And I was very good at what I did. But I have to think now, you know, because I haven't done it in so long. And, you know, there was a time when I like had part stores memorized in my head. Part numbers for specific things. Cost. I mean, I know it up here, you know. It's no wonder it's no wonder I had a fucking stroke, right? But like I said, once you stop using it, it just goes away, you know. Even now, I look back at some of the things I did, like I built bathrooms for some of my customers, you know, from scratch, you know, where we had to dig up the floors, add the plumbing, get water lines in, design the shower assemblies, make sure the plumbing was right for the toilet. I mean, it was pretty complicated, really, when you get down. It's not as quick as you think it is. And like I said, I was very good at it. And now I have to sit back and think, well, how did I do that? You know? I want to do a his and her shower in my master bathroom. We have a big bathtub, but I want to rip the tub out. I don't know when this will happen. It may not, but it's kind of one of my ideas I want to do. It's so big that I could have a his and her shower in there. I kind of know how to do it, you know, because I've done it before. But I had to think about it before I could just say, you know, and then thinking about what's it going to cost, what materials I'm going to need. It's been, well, I stopped working in 2007. So it's been, what, 20 years, something like that, or 18 years? I don't know how long it's been. My math is terrible anyway, probably as a result of the stroke. But it's been a while, you know, and I haven't done a damn thing since then, not really. Derek says the most geometry I use is the 3, 4, 5 triangle for a right angle, Pythagorean, Pythagorean triangle. I know I'd get it eventually. Yeah, well, I still use that too, or we call them squares. Tom Gray said, Jim, I have not taken a bath for over 60 years. Oh, yeah, well, I haven't either, you know. I think the last time I had a bath, well, actually, I take that back. I got deathly ill up in Ohio about 30 years ago. We were in a motel. I mean, I must have got the flu or something, but I thought I was going to die. I was burning up bad. So I had my girlfriend at the time. She said, fill up the bathtub with ice cold water. I'm going to soak in it. And that's what I did, and it brought the fever down a little bit. But that wasn't a technical bath. An actual bath I haven't had since I was a kid. You know. I've always taken showers, you know, just the way it works. It's just, so like I said, when I bought this house in the master bathroom, there's no shower. Well, there's a shower in the bathtub, but the bathtub is huge. I mean, it's like a 4-person tub. I'm not exact. It's huge. You could probably get 4 people in there, you know. 2 side by side opposing each other. That fucking thing is huge. It's worth money. The tub itself was like $1,500. It's fiberglass. I know I can get it out in one piece, and I'll probably resell it. But this big opening where it is, where it would be, well, when I took it out, is huge for his and her shower. You know, basically she gets one side with her own controls and shower head, and you get the other side with your own controls and shower head. I built them before for some of my customers. And I like to do the open shower design so you don't need a shower curtain. And basically use those clear blocks. They're glass blocks, about yay big, square. And you put those up as a barrier, except for the part where you walk in. And on the his and hers, you would have 2 openings, one on her side, one on his side. And then the barrier in the middle to keep the water from splashing out. So it's a cool idea. Like I said, it cost me a couple of grand to do it, but it'd be worth it. Because right now we've only have 1 shower in the house, and that's in the second bathroom on the other side of the house. And it's tiny. I mean, I barely fit in the fucking thing, you know. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, I'm not a small guy, but still, you know. Thomas, we didn't want to say anything, but you might want to so you can keep your girlfriend. I missed something there? I might have. Let me back up a little bit. Oh, okay. Thomas, yeah. He takes showers. You're just saying he hasn't been in a bathtub. And probably most of you guys haven't either in forever. I mean, who the hell takes a bath now? I mean, women take baths because they're just into that thing. Men, generally, we don't bathe. We shower. Never store on my PC. I store on plug-in hard drives, all my intros and things. That's kind of a smart thing, Lee. I said I backed up a lot of stuff. I've got a 2 terabyte backup drive, external SSD. I should have backed everything up before all this crap happened. My last backup was probably a couple of months ago. I don't back up often because, you know, I don't have a lot of stuff, so I lost a few files, but I got most of it back. Most of the important stuff that I needed is still there, especially like my 3D STL files and shit like that. I still got all that, thank God. Well, most of it. Derek Alexander, Derek, my shit does not stink either. All right, now you're pulling our chains there, Tom. And Alex, there's a big gym wide divide to shower. Why not keep it as a bit? Well, it is. There's no real divider. But on the outside wall, instead of a shower curtain, you've got the glass blocks. They're not in between. They're just on the outside wall of the shower. So you walk in and you don't need a shower curtain or a shower door because of the way it's designed. So it's not like we'd be separating the shower. And what would be the point of that? It just means that, you know, if she wants warmer water than you want, she can do that with her shower head and you can do yours. You're still in the same shower room with no dividers, but you have separate controls so you can, you know, do your own thing. Why would you want to soak in your own schmutz? Baths are yucky. Well, there's some truth to that, Russ. You know, I always wondered that too, you know. You take a bath, the water looks like shit, especially if you were dirty, you know. How do you get clean bathing in your own dirty water? When I get sick and can't get warm, I'll fill the tub with hot water. Yeah, well, that works too, you know. I said a tub is good for that. But, I mean, in a way, you could do the same thing with a shower, you know, and I've done that. I've cranked the hot water up in the shower and just sat under it, you know. I have a shower seat in there, you know, shower chair. I just sit back there and let it pound the back of my neck and my back and the rest of my body except for my face and just, you know, soak it in. And it does warm you up. But fortunately not, well, I haven't gotten sick in a very long time, you know. Even when I got the COVID virus, it wasn't that bad. It was like a bad cold. Lasted about a week, I think, 10 days. No big deal. But, so I had a lot of plans. I just don't, I mean, money's tight, so that's a factor. But mostly it's my physical ability to do things, you know. Now, I've got Spanish tiles in most of the house. Now, you don't know whether they look like bricks. They're not smooth. They're textured. And they're all over the place. Matter of fact, the guy that built the house, I talked to him because he's my next door neighbor. Well, his dad is anyway. He was telling me he spent $9,000, paid some Mexican to put the tiles down. It took him like a week. Because you have to set every one and then level them. And did a fairly good job. I don't like walking on the fucking things, and they hold dirt like you wouldn't believe. You know, you really can't walk barefoot on them. Especially like me as a diabetic. My feet are real tender anyway. A grain of sand, I'm going to feel it. Like it's a knife, you know. So I want to put down that faux wood. You've seen it before. They're long strips. They're not real wood. They're fake, but they're real. I've used it before. I've installed it in some of my customers' houses. I love this stuff. And the problem is I can't do that anymore because I'd be working on the floor. I can't get on my knees, and even if I could, I wouldn't be able to get back up. So I'm going to have to pay somebody to do it. I don't know what it's going to cost. It won't be cheap. You know, the materials alone, I'm figuring a couple of grand, and who knows what they're going to want for labor, and I got to find somebody who can do the job right. I mean, I can supervise it and even assist as far as, you know, brain work, but I can't do any of the labor. I want to get it done. I don't really want carpet because, well, I got carpet in the bedroom, and you know, when you got dogs and cats and shit, carpet doesn't do well. So ultimately, I want to put this faux wood down. It would go in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the half bath that I use all the time, and the hallways. Now, altogether, I think that's like probably about 1,800 square foot. Big areas, you know. So I would need quite a bit of this stuff, although they do have sales on them where you can get them really cheap. They're almost like a dollar a panel, and you get like 20 panels in a box. I would probably need like 700 or 800 panels, you know. So I don't know. I used it. I put it in my kitchen back in Naples, the old house, because my dad had me tile the floor before he passed, and he wanted these large grout lines. They were almost like a half inch. It looked like shit, you know. I said, why would you want that, you know? He had me tile the living room, and that was 0 grout lines, you know. There was no grout in between the tiles. That came out nice. He should have done the same thing in the kitchen. But he wanted grout lines in the kitchen, so, you know, hey, it's your money. I'll do whatever you want. But ultimately, it looked like shit. So I bought the faux wood, put that in the kitchen, and it made the kitchen look like $1 million, you know. So I said, I'm glad I did that. And I don't think at the time, well, the kitchen wasn't that big anyway, but I think it cost me like $400. But I was able to do the work myself, so it wasn't too bad, you know. And this is the problem with aging, especially if you're, you know, fucked up, because I can't think of the right word. I can't do it anymore. I have to pay somebody to do it. And then, like my wife pointed out, well, how are you going to find somebody that's not going to rip you off or do a shitty job? Well, that's a problem, especially here in Sebring. You know, my future son-in-law, I don't think he could do it. I mean, I could probably guide him a little bit, but I mean, I couldn't leave him alone. He'd be completely lost. He just doesn't have the smarts for it. You know, if I show him how to do something, he could follow directions, but you'd have to be there over his shoulder the whole time. And it'd be a lot cheaper. I could pay him, and it'd be a lot cheaper, you know. And that's a possibility, too. Who knows? So, like I said, I'd like to get all this shit done before I drop dead. But, you know, who the hell knows? Like I said, even building this second room on the shed here, that's really nothing. I mean, it's a piece of cake job for a normal person. For me, it's a little tougher because, like I said, I'm disabled. That's the word. I'm a little disabled. So, I don't know. It is what it is. The beauty of it now is if somehow or another I was healed, or healed myself or something, I might lose my disability, but I'm old enough to collect Social Security. So, you know, I'm 66 and I was eligible for full Social Security at 65 because I was born in 59. You know? So financially, I wouldn't take a hit. I'd actually come out ahead, and I'd be in better shape. But they say that, was that Derek? I just walked into the room where my wife is, and she heard your voice and said, "Hello, Jim Tedesco." Well, hi, Derek's wife. Hope you're doing well. So, it's just, they say that eventually your stroke effects will repair themselves. And to a point it has. Like I said, when I first had the stroke, my left side was fine. My right side, however, and I was ambidextrous, I could write and do everything with either hand. This hand now and this arm is worthless, as far as I'm concerned. But see, I can move my fingers. I can hold things in it. When I first had the stroke, I couldn't hold a sheet of paper in this hand. It would fall out. I had no strength whatsoever. And I had no coordination in it either. Just kind of swung around whatever I did with it. So, forcing myself to rehabilitate a little bit, I do have some control over everything now. And not quite as good as the left hand, but I could do the live long and prosper thing with my left hand. I can't really do it with the right hand anymore, but I used to be able to. So, I took a beating. Of course, my leg took a hit too, so I don't walk correctly. I can't run anymore. And I tell you, of all the things I miss most out of my life is not being able to run. And just even walking is a chore anymore. I mean, I could walk 50 feet and I got to sit down. It sucks. And that's not old age, man. That's the fucking, the effects of the stroke. Because it was always like that, even when I was still, because I had my stroke, I was 47 years old. At 48, 49, 50, I was the same as it is today. So, I had one guy argue, he says, well, you can fix all that if you just work on it. I go, I've been working on it. He said, well, you're not working on it enough. I said, how much can I do it? I already had 2 fucking heart attacks. And because it was from overworking, overstressing myself. What the hell? So that's where I'm at. But it is what it is. So, it's a wonderful Saturday. It's actually nice outside here in Florida. It's a little warm out there. It's 80 degrees. Which isn't terrible, but not great either. No rain in sight for today. Supposed to rain tomorrow, we'll see. I'm probably going to have to mow my lawn soon. I haven't cut the lawn in, I think, 4 months, almost 5 months. Hasn't been growing. But the last few rains we got, shot it up a little bit, so not all of it, but like on the side of that side of the house and in the backyard, it's starting to get a little bit tall. So I'm going to have to, why does this thing keep fucking, I just updated all the drivers. I don't need to update them again. Fucking computer. So I'm probably going to have to get out there probably sometime next week and mow the lawn. No big deal. Although I'm sure the battery will be dead. Because like I said, I haven't used the mower in 5 months. The last time I let it sit for, I think, 2 months and the battery was dead. I have a jump box, so it's no big deal, but so far everything's still doing good. There's no lockups, no stuttering, no buffering. Everything's good. I've been in the green here, so although it's still showing a lot of drop frames. I'm down to 1%, but that's still a lot. There shouldn't be any. But that's assuming that that's accurate. It may not be. and watching myself on a monitor, which is difficult because there's about a 10 to 15 second delay between what I see in my main screen and what I see on the internet. Yeah. I just finished taking a drink and I'm looking at the screen. I'm starting to take a drink over there. There, so that was loud too. Okay. Well, I spoke directly into the mic, that's why. And like I said, it should be... Normally when I have everything turned up, the meter goes right into red if I raise my voice. It's not doing that for some reason. And I don't really know why. Everything should be turned up. Let me see here, make sure it is. Left and right balance is good. No, everything's in good shape. Well, raise it up a little bit. See if that makes a difference. Get any louder? No, not really. Oh, the notification. Yeah. Well, you know, stupid notifications. I hate being interrupted by notifications. Yeah, I don't know how to raise the, well, let me go back in the settings. I can raise the levels in there. Let's see, audio. That's good, that's good. Decay rate fast, simple peak. And hotkeys. No, everything's turned up on that. So I go into advanced. Show active outputs. It says HDR nominal peak level 1000 nits. The fuck is a nit? I don't even know. Yeah, everything's actually in pretty tip-top shape here. It's a stable, latest stable release. Okay, that's probably a good thing. Enable, multi-view. Believe it or not, everything seems to be good here. Audio bit rate. Well, that's about as high as I want it to get. Oh, everything's good. Maybe my mic's wearing out, who knows? Or it could be in the Windows itself, so. I had a 1-year goal to start my new layout bench work. I don't think I will make it, Jim. 2 months away. No, you unless you get cracking. Judging on that room, if you're going to rebuild in there, you got a lot of work to do. So I don't know what kind of physical shape you're in, but I mean, if you're in good shape, you should be able to fix that in about a week or two. But if you're like me, it'd probably take you a fucking year. You know, yeah, it all depends. But I mean, I was you know, chomping at the bit to get the new layout here when I bought this house. You know, well, first I had to buy the shed. My wife said, "Just use the garage." I said, "No, I want to put the car in the garage." And I said, "I'm not building layout in the garage because that was the biggest really room in the house." I said, "No, I'm going to buy a shed. I got the money. I'm going to get the biggest shed I could find, and then I'll build the layout in there." And like I said, I had a lot of problems. There was a lot of setbacks and last minute changes because they couldn't or wouldn't do what I want. So I wound up with this shed here, and as soon as I got it, man, I got to work. You know, built the bench. Well, put the insulation in, put the electricity in, put the walls up, ceiling. Any trim work needed to be done. Changed the front door because they had a barn door on it. I don't need no fucking barn door. And then I started on the bench work, and you know, I got all that done in about, I think, 3 or 4 months, which wasn't bad. you know. Because, I mean, I was jonesing for my trains, man. Russ says, my ass hurts. I need a cool chair like yours, Joe. Oh, this chair sucks, man. I got the good chairs in the main house. I got that, oh, fuck, can't remember the name of it now. The one Sparky recommended. It was an $800 chair. I'm going to get one for in here. This is a $60 chair. You can't hardly roll in it. The wheels keep locking up and, you know, they don't rotate the way they're supposed to. It's hard as a rock. You know. I can't wait to get rid of this chair, but I got too many bills right now to buy another one. Probably later in the year when I get rid of some of those other bills, because they're getting close to getting paid off. I'm going to buy a new chair. Because that's, I mean, most of my life is sitting down in a chair. You know, because I don't walk much anymore. I don't stand much. I'm usually sitting on my fat ass. So, you know, it is what it is. It's, what are those good chairs now? I can't remember the name of the chair. I'm telling you, I'm losing my fucking mind. I got too much going on up here to remember everything, but, and it will come to me at some point. But I won't have to get the same exact chair for back here, because the one in the house, because I basically I watch TV in it. You know, I got my 37-inch monitor on the desk, and I watch TV on that. And I've got a 40-inch monitor back here. And I'm probably going to put a 50 in both of them at some point. You know, nothing wrong with a large screen. But I got a wide chair for in there, because for my fat ass, so I like to sit on my leg, you know, tuck my right leg underneath the left one, and I'm good to go. So I needed a wider chair. Well, that was like another $200 for the width. I don't need that for here. I can get a normal chair. So I'm thinking I could probably get something between $400 and $500 for in here. And I'll have to pay for it on time like I did with the other one, because I just don't have that kind of money to throw down all at once. Russ says medical and dental appointments, yard work, chores, home improvements take up. Well, that's true. I'm so sick of doctors it isn't funny. I had to see the doctor the other day, this past Monday. Every 3 months like clockwork. And I mean, it doesn't cost me anything because my insurance picks up the whole tab on it. But they pay him $350. And for that $350, all he does is bitch about my A1C, because, you know, I'm fucking diabetic. You need to get your A1C down. Yeah, well, give me the cure and I will. You know? I mean, it was at like fucking 14. I'm down to, I think, 7.9 now, or 7.8, which isn't bad considering. They wanted to get it down like 6, you know. I said, I don't know if I can do that. Well, you're going to have to change your diet. I said, look, I'm on a protein diet now. We need to eat vegetables. I don't like vegetables. I can't hold them down. I'm not going to eat something that I can't enjoy or keep down. And I don't think it's going to make a fucking difference anyway. You know. I said, you bitched about my cholesterol for years. It was never that high. And I just, the last time I got blood work done 3 months ago, it was perfect. And the doctor scratched, well, what do you do? I said, I eat meat. Well, meat's bad for cholesterol. I said, for some, but not for me. I'm on a protein diet, man. You know. Because I refuse to take the fucking cholesterol pills because they're bad for you. So, you know, I said, no. You know. I'd rather let the disease kill me than the cure. And I hate when I say that, but it's true. You know. It said if you get cancer, well, the newest thing with cancer is it's actually a, oh, fuck, what the hell's the name of that? A parasite. It's not what they told us. They told us uncontrolled cellular growth which doesn't really make sense anyway. But they said no. They said they're finding out that most cancers, not all, but most cancers are parasitic. And we found that out during the COVID years because some people were taking ivermectin to get rid of the COVID, and some of them had cancer, and they were miraculously cured of cancer because of the ivermectin, which is an anti-parasitic, you know. So, of course, that's why they tried to ban ivermectin, because they didn't want people curing their cancer, because, you know, the medical society would lose billions of dollars, you know. So if you get cancer, the chemo and the radiation treatment, you're looking at a minimum $1 million in treatment. And if you survive that, you're looking at much more. Plus, it destroys your immune system. Well, that don't make sense. Let's kill you. Let's cure you by killing you. You know, because chemo is a toxic fucking mix of fucking deadly chemicals. I mean, they've gotten better at it now, but you're still going to die if you get cancer, except that they get rich. I had a spot on my lung some years back, I think 13 years, no, that'd have been like 20 years now, but at the time, they wanted to go in there and biopsy, and they said, well, you probably have lung cancer. I said, well, then I'll die. What do you mean? I said, well, you can't cure it, so I'll just live with it until I can't. Well, that doesn't make sense. I said, it makes complete sense. I could fucking let it kill me in time, whenever that may be, if it is cancer. Or I could buy you a new house and still die anyway. So you got all pissed off. Well, I don't like the idea you think I'm doing this for the money. You are doing it for the money. Otherwise, go ahead and do the biopsy for free. Well, I can't do that. I said, well, there we go. You're doing this for the money. You don't give a fuck about me or my cancer or my health. All you care about is this, the dollar bill. So go fuck yourself. I'm not going to let your cure kill me. I'll let the disease kill me first. Well, it turns out I didn't have cancer. Because when I had the big heart attack 6 years ago, and I was up in Orlando, they saw the spot and they says, we can't fix you up until we check that out because you might have cancer. So I've had it for 13 years. What's the size of it? He says, it's like a millimeter. I said, well, it was a millimeter 13 years ago. If it were cancer, I'd probably be dead already. We still have to check it. All right, go ahead, because, you know, they're going to let me die anyway, you know. So they went ahead, they did a biopsy. Turns out it was nothing. It was benign. And they came back 3 years later, well, good news is it's benign. I said, well, duh. I could have told you that and saved the insurance company, what, about $10,000 for the biopsy? Fucking guys, you did this for the money. You know that's the only reason you did it. Well, it's not right. But it is true. Don't bullshit me. Yeah, I don't care. It's not coming out of my pocket. But it's a waste. I told you, if it was cancer, it would have grown at the very least. Probably would have killed me. 13 years later, still the same size it was when they spotted it. That tells you right there it was nothing. Well, you're right. I said, yeah, but you don't listen. You know. But like I said, when I first got it, they sent me to, was it an oncologist, I think it is? Or I don't know what. Doctor who specializes in that shit. Boy, he wanted to get right in there, dig around, and find out what it was, and, you know, start the cancer treatments, the chemo, and we're not doing none of that shit. Let's see, Russ says at least one main line will be down before I even touch scenery this time. First priority this time will be running trains. I was too nitpicky about finishing scenery first. Yeah, I mean, well, you should consider both, but yes, get your tracks down and running, and then you could build your scenery around it, but make sure you come up with a plan to make room for your scenery. Because I kind of did the same thing that you're talking about. Well, I came up with a track plan, and then I put the track down. I'm going, all right, now I want to put scenery down. What am I going to do? And, you know, I had to make some changes in the scenery because I didn't have the room for what I wanted to actually put down. That's why I have a second level now. So I could put some of the stuff up that I wanted to put down on the first level. So be careful with that. But I understand your point of view. You know, you said don't be in too much of a hurry, because I was. You know, my idea was, let's get that track down, get power to it, and get some trains running. You know, we'll worry about the scenery later. It wasn't the best idea, but, you know. So when you're doing your track plan, whether you do it in your head or on paper, give yourself an area where you think, you know, if you want to have a residential section, that's fine. If you want to have a industrial section, that's fine. Or you want to put a coal mine here, or make sure you leave places to put it so that your track work will work in conjunction with it. You know, it's the best advice I could give you. Rick says, my doctor wants me to have a camera shoved up my ass. And I said, hell no, I did it once. That was good enough. Oh, colonoscopy? I refuse to have one done. I do the Cologuard. You shit in a box. You mail the box off to UPS or FedEx, I can't remember which. And they study it. I don't know what they do with it. And they say that's actually a more effective test that's non-invasive. Because, you know, they say at 50 you're supposed to get a colonoscopy. Well, I think I was when I did the Cologuard, I think it was 52. And the doctor said, you gotta have it. I said, I don't gotta have nothing. You know, you're not shoving a tube up my ass. It just ain't happening. You know. Why not? It's because it's stupid. And you could do a lot of damage shoving that tube up someone's butt, you know. I said, it happens. You tore colons, punctured the intestine. We're not fucking around with that crap. I don't have cancer. I'm not worried about it. It doesn't run in our family. Well, that don't mean anything. It means everything, you know. I says, you're just going to have to come up with some other way. So a couple of days later, he calls, well, there's this new thing called Cologuard. You defecate in a box and you ship it out and they study it. And it's actually more accurate than a colonoscopy. I said, well, I'll do that. So they shipped me the box, read the instructions. You got this little thing you stick on a toilet. You take a dump, pack it all up, put it in the box, and ship it off. I mean, you know. And the thing is, the first time I did one, they said, you only have to do this once in your life. Because it's that good of a test. Well, 5 years later, they come and say, oh, you're going to have to do it again because we determined that once in a lifetime ain't enough. Why, because you're not making enough fucking money that way? Now they're telling me it's been... I think I did one 2 or 3 years ago. And they want me to do one again. I just got a notice on my email. It may be time to do a Cologuard again. I'm thinking, how many fucking times I got to do this? You know? It's bullshit. It really is. But the good news is it doesn't cost me anything. And, you know, I can do shit in the box. I don't have a problem with that. You know. Russ says doctors are doing too many needless and dangerous tests and all. Oh, absolutely. You know. And I was what the hell was I reading somewhere? I can't even remember most of it now. It was about a week ago. And they were saying that if you're over 60, you should not have certain tests done. Because they're very risky and could kill you. Well, that makes sense, you know. Anything invasive is an issue, you know. Now, you know, if you need, like if you have a clogged artery or something, they got to do the, I can't remember what it's called, but they put a camera through your artery and a tool that cleans out the artery, put stents and whatever. That's fine because that's life-saving, you know. But as far as colonoscopies go, or, you know, needless surgeries, you know, invasive practice just to see, you know, let's shove a tube down your throat and look into your stomach. Why? You know. Yeah, they say colonoscopy. Yeah, it's every 5 years. Well, now they're saying the same thing with the Cologuard. You got to do it every 5 years. This is bullshit, you know. My brother did the Cologuard and ended up having his colon ripped out and dead 2 months later. Well, that doesn't make sense. You mean a colonoscopy or he did the Cologuard? That's not invasive. That shouldn't have killed him. There's always that possibility you can get a false positive or a false negative, but that can happen even with a colonoscopy. Russ says, colonoscopy, I have had one. The worst part is the prep for it. Yeah, drinking that nasty fluid and sitting on the toilet over and over again for hours. Yeah, because they got to clean you out, you know. Which, that's another issue that, you know, how good can that be, you know? Here, drink this stuff. It'll clean you out. Yeah, what else will it do? You know, I'm telling you, I don't like a lot of this stuff. I just got a new cardiologist a few months ago. I got tired of going to Naples. I had a good cardiologist down there, but it's 112 miles each way to drive. It takes almost 2 hours to get there. An hour and a half, really, but and about $80 in gas all the ways around for a 15-minute visit, so he can listen to my heart and say, "Well, you're good. We'll see you next year." You know, I got tired of doing it. I did it a few times after we moved up here, and I said, I'm just going to get a doctor up here. So I found a cardiologist. I didn't really care who he was or anything else. Nice guy, seemed pretty intelligent. But like most cardiologists, they want to change everything. So I go see him the first time. Well, we want to look at your medications. Well, you're not touching my medications. Why not? Because they work fine. We're not fucking with them. I said, there's no reason to fuck with them. I'm not playing that shit. I don't want newer shit because I don't trust new drugs. I like the old ones. They work better. All right, well, what about a stress test? I said, we damn sure ain't doing a stress test. Why not? I said, well, if you have an old car with a lot of miles on it, you don't take it out and run the shit out of it because you know what'll happen. You'll blow the fucking motor up. What do you think happens to an old person if you push them past their limits? You blow their fucking heart apart and they fucking die. Well, that's not true. I said, but it is true. And of course, they want to do the chemical stress test, and they can't shut that off. Once you get injected with the chemicals, you have the stress test. And people they've had heart attacks. I don't think anybody's died, but I've had 2 heart attacks. I don't want another one. And I call them fishing expeditions. Rick says he had cancer all through his body when they took his colon out. They took the biopsy off his liver and told us he would not survive. Well, he had cancer. That's what actually killed him, And I don't think it would have mattered whether he got a colonoscopy or Cologuard. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say it, but he would have died anyway. If you wait too long, there's not much hope. I mean, although, like I said, during the COVID era, there was a guy who had stage 4 lung cancer. He was ready to die at any time. He was so afraid of getting COVID that he took ivermectin. He never got COVID, and guess what? His lung cancer went away. And he was stage 4. And they told him, prepare to die because we can't fix you. No, he fixed himself with fucking ivermectin. Now, I don't know how much these doctors know or don't know because I don't believe or trust them. Another fucking thing there. Hey, Ray, how's it going? Good to see you. Stress test is one of the most dangerous. Oh, of course it is. Oh, my dad had one done. He was 82, I think, or 82 or 83. I was at work, I worked for myself, and I get a call from the hospital. They says, you need to get here because your dad's dying. Holy fuck, he just went in for a stress test. Well, it's not doing well. I said, all right, I'll get, so I wound up getting a speeding ticket. Now, I'm not going to get in the whole thing, but I got there, he was fine. But he had a heart attack about 2 minutes after he took the stress test. He wound up getting what do you call it? The surgery where a bypass surgery. They did a quadruple bypass on him. It was like his 4th heart attack, But giving him a stress test was absolutely stupid. You know, it's like you don't have a problem, let's find one, make a problem, and then we could fix you up and make lots of money. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, I could be wrong or off the topic maybe, but I firmly believe that's what it is. You know, they won't even do anything until the problem gets serious enough to where it's going to cost a lot of money to fix it. You know, I just don't trust doctors, man, for that reason. Look, doctoring is like any other job. What's the purpose of a job or a business? To make a profit. You know, nobody goes to work and not make money because there would be no point in it. So doctoring is the same thing. I don't think it always was. I think there was a time when doctors were pretty honest and they weren't looking to make a quick buck off you. But today it's different. Now, and we're finding out too that most of these cancers are caused by food, you know, or even clothes soap. Robert Kennedy, he just pulled a bunch of clothes soap brands off the market because they contain deadly toxins. You're washing your clothes with poison, you're wearing those clothes, you get cancer or something else and can't figure out why. Or they can't figure out why, you know. It's bad, yeah. And the foods are the same way. There's so many bad foods that they're starting to pull some of the foods off the shelf too, because they have toxins in them. You know. So, like I said, if I were to get, I hope I never do, but if I were to get cancer, I got ivermectin in the safe. I'm taking the ivermectin. Screw their fucking radiation therapy and chemotherapy. I ain't going through that horse shit, you know. And if that doesn't work and I die, well then, it was my time to die, right? Here's another kicker. I was watching a thing. Oh, wait a minute here. Rick says, I have a mass in my prostate, just going to leave it alone. I have 2 hernias living with this also. I've had a hernia. I fixed it myself. And I did a better job than what they do. I have 2 friends that also had hernias. They had that mesh put in to cure their hernia. Well, the mesh got recalled, and they're at greater risk of having another hernia. Plus, they can't lift more than, I think it's 20 pounds at any time for the rest of their lives. I'm fine, and I let it heal itself because, you know, that's what they used to do in the old days. As far as the mass on your prostate, well, it could be benign. I mean, you don't know. It's up to you how you want to handle it, you know. I think if you worry about things, that might make it worse. If you just figure that your body will heal it, and your body's capable of healing it, it will actually get healed. I have heard of numerous people on YouTube that seem to have amazing results fighting cancer with ivermectin. Well, exactly. Ivermectin is an anti-parasitic. And cancer, it turns out, in most cases, is parasitic. You know. And it is an old story. It's supposedly true. I don't really know. This guy, he lost his health insurance. He couldn't afford to go to a medical doctor, so he had a dog. And he took the dog to the vet. And he's telling the doctor, he says, you know, I just don't feel good anymore. I'm scared I might have cancer. So the vet told him, he said, look, he says, I can't promote this, but try taking an anti-parasitic. It was a dog drug, a drug they gave dogs for parasites. It wasn't ivermectin, it was something else. He says, try it, it might help. So the guy got it, and the vet gave him a script for it. He got it filled, took it, and a month later his cancer is gone. You know, the vet knew what was going on, but the medical doctors, oh, they would have probably said, oh, you're going to need chemo and radiation. Oh, fuck you, you know. So I just don't trust them. Like I said, I remember you talking about that, Russ, that men in your family don't live past their 70s, and you're 61, but you shouldn't think like that. Think positive. It could make a difference. If you think you're going to die, you probably will. So don't think like that. Think and say, look, I'm going to live to be 80 or I'm going to live to be 90. Convince yourself of it and, you know, you'll probably be fine. Rick says, not worried at all when my time is up. Yeah, I'm the same way, Rick. You know, and I tell doctors that and they look at me like I'm some lunatic. Well, you know, it's my time to die. I'm going to die and it don't matter what you do. Because it's my time, you know. And you can't die before your time. So I ain't worried, you know. My dad lived to be 91. His sister lived to be 91. Most of the people on my dad's side of the family, that was the magic number for them, 91. My mother's side, well, they killed her. She was only 80. They gave her, fucking painkiller, I can't remember. She was allergic to it, and that's what killed her. But in her family, the average age was about 90. My grandfather on her side, I think he was 90. My grandmother, I think, was 93. You know. So I'm pretty sure, you know, I mean, other than the fact that I had the stroke, which could shorten my lifespan a little bit, but there's a good probability I may see 90, 91. You know. And as I said, I was watching a thing the other day on diabetes, which I have, and these two doctors claim, look, diabetes isn't what they've been telling you. I said, well, that doesn't surprise me any. He says, we found out diabetes is a parasite that's in your pancreas. It lives in your pancreas and actually eats the insulin your pancreas makes so that your body can't utilize it. Well, that makes sense, you know. Because the doctors say, well, you're insulin resistant. Your body won't accept the insulin that your pancreas makes. My pancreas is fine. It's making plenty of insulin, but for whatever reason, my body won't allow it to be used, which doesn't make sense. So he says, we found out that certain antiparasitics will kill the parasites, and your diabetes will go away. And I'm thinking, and they did suggest ivermectin, and then there's another antiparasitic drug, which I'd never heard of, but ivermectin was on that list. And I want to explore it further, but if I find out that there's any truth to that, I'm going to start taking my ivermectin and get rid of my damn diabetes. Because they were able to cure diabetes in the 1800s. It was rare that you got it, but it did happen. And it was curable until 1901, when a scientist discovered insulin in the human body and figured out how to use, because we use cow insulin now as an insulin, replacement. As soon as he found that out, the cure disappeared. Well, ain't that fucking convenient? You know. So there's something going on here. You know, like I said, you can't trust the medical institutions because they're out there to make money. They don't care whether you live or die as long as they get your money before you do. Russ's experts say diabetes is caused by a parasitic bacterium in the pancreas. Most doctors just, I know. And I'll tell you what, I was just saying, I didn't see your thing there quick, but I saw my doctor, like I said last week, and I said, Doc, I says, I heard this theory that diabetes is caused by a parasite in the pancreas. And he like froze up for a minute. And he said, no, that's not true. He says, you're insulin resistant. You know, the same old script that I'm thinking, why did he fucking lock up like that? I think he knows the truth and he's afraid to say it. You know, because they're not allowed to say it. So I have a feeling that that's probably what it is, you know. It also explains why it gets worse over time, because the parasites will overtake your pancreas and they'll eat more and more as they reproduce. So taking an antiparasitic will kill off the bacteria, the parasites. Rick says, my mother is 91, my grandmother made it till 93, and grandpa made it all the way till 99. Downside, my father made it till 83. Well, but still, you got longevity in your family. You know, not everybody's going to make it that far. Like I said, it's because my dad made it to 91 don't mean I will. I mean, I may make it to 100. Who the hell knows? But, you can't count on that. Russ, is funny. Jim was saying this after I typed the whole mind reading. Well, you heard it too then, because, like I said, I listened to this thing and it's like, well, shit. Now, of course, they had a cure, some cocktail that would act like an anti-parasitic, but they did say, though, that, anti-parasitic drugs like ivermectin will, in fact, probably kill the parasites in you. Any anti-parasitic should work. And, they claim theirs is safe and no side effects. Now, there are some side effects to ivermectin. They're mild. You got to be careful with it, though. You can overdose on it and you can fucking die. I don't have the pills. I got the horse paste. Now, some idiot bought the horse paste and ate like half the tube. Well, a tube is for like a 1,200-pound horse. So unless you're 1,200 pounds, you probably shouldn't eat the whole tube, And he ate half a tube, so was he 600 pounds? Probably not. So I'm thinking a little dab on your finger, and that should be a good dose. So I'll have to look into that more often, more. But, like I said, dosing is just as important as the actual, drug or prescription that you've got. Because at the time, you were able to get it at Tractor Supply. It was like $18 for a big tube of it. And it doesn't say they're not fit for human consumption because it's ivermectin. It's the same shit that you would get from a doctor, but it's in paste form instead of a pill. Now, they have injectable ivermectin. They also have the tablet pill, ivermectin. But like I said, it's hard to get any of that stuff now because, the cat's out of the bag. A lot of people know that could cure cancer, possibly cure diabetes, and probably a host of other things. And they don't want you getting that cure. Russ says he locked up because he does not want to lose his license. If he told you the truth, they would surely... Yeah, well, that's true. Not that I would, rat on him or anything. It's like, I don't give a shit, When I was a teenager, I had problems with my shoulder. I went and seen a family doctor. I was his last patient. This is a true story. His last patient before he retired. So he worked on me for almost 2 hours. It cost me $15 because I didn't have insurance or anything. $15 for 2 hours with the doctor. And he gave me medications to boot. He massaged my shoulder, did some cracking and massage and whatever, and actually made it feel better. He says, well, you got inflammation in your shoulder, probably because you're overworking it. I'm left-handed with left shoulder. I said, yeah, makes sense. He says, I'm going to give you some muscle relaxants. Be careful with them because, your heart's a muscle. But he said, you take one of these a day and you'll be fine in about a week or two. That should solve the inflammation. So I said, all right, that's cool. So he starts talking to me. He said, I'm going to tell you something I've not been allowed to tell anybody through my entire practice. So what's that? He says, well, there's a cure for every disease known to man. A safe cure. But you'll never get it, and no doctor will ever give it to you because we're not allowed to. He says, I don't care what you got, name any disease you want, we know how to cure it. You ever wonder why doctors don't have heart attacks? Doctors don't get cancer? Doctors don't get diabetes? They don't get none of these diseases because they know how to cure it. I said, yeah, that makes sense. He said, once in a while one gets something, but it doesn't generally kill them. He says, because they got the cure. But they won't give you the cure because, a patient cured is a patient lost. Makes sense. So, like I said, as the last patient, I took that to heart and I remembered it all these years, And I firmly believe it's true. Rick says if they cured people, the doctors wouldn't make money and the pharmaceutical places would go back. Oh, of course they would. Russ says, pea-sized dose of ivermectin every day, I heard. Yeah, That sounds about right. I think you got to take it for like 2 weeks or something. Maybe 2 months. I don't remember which. I have to look into it. Because it was a big thing during the whole COVID deal, you know, because people were getting their hands on it because you couldn't hardly get the pills. The doctors, they wouldn't even prescribe them to you. And there were places on the internet where you could get them, but then what I understand is they were all imported from other countries, and our government shut off the imports. Anybody caught importing it would go to prison. Why would you go through that much trouble to stop a potential cure from coming into the country? Because they want you dead. I think that was the whole purpose for COVID, was a mass killing. It didn't really happen. I mean, the disease itself probably wouldn't have killed you. The cure certainly did. During that whole extravaganza, if you were intubated, you know, they put the tube down your throat and they literally pumped air into your lungs. The intubation actually killed more people than it helped because they were forcing air into the lungs probably too much, and it was blowing their lungs apart and killing them. Yeah, I said, I got COVID. My wife got COVID. We're fine. You know, we didn't even go to the doctor. I thought it was in early 19, right when it first came out. I didn't know it was COVID. I thought it was the flu, so I treated it like the flu. You know, wasn't that big of a deal. And I got all the problems: fat, heart disease, diabetic. You know, and I was fine. But perfectly healthy people were dropping dead in the hospitals because they were intubated, or they were given a drug that would wipe out their kidneys. And the doctors knew this, but they gave it to them anyway. It's fucked up shit, man. Russ says, today's medical industry today is all smoke and mirrors. It makes your blood boil. It's all based on keeping people sick. Oh, you're absolutely right. I said, they don't cure anything. They treat everything. Well, I don't want to be treated. I want to be cured. You know, I can put all the Band-Aids I want on myself, but that won't cure disease, will it? You know. And this is the problem. They're basically putting Band-Aids on everybody, keeping you just alive enough to get your money. And it ain't right. You know. And the insurance companies are just as guilty and just as stupid. There was a woman, she needed a, what was it, she had to go into the, what the hell was it called? The magnetic thing there? Fuck. Yeah, the tube you go into to, I can't remember what it's called now. Hate when that happened. But she needed to get one done because she had some potential problems. She had insurance. She went to the hospital. They said, well, you're going to have to put up $5,000 for your deposit on that, you know, your end of it. She goes, that's ridiculous. What good is the insurance if I got to pay this deductible on there? So she went to another hospital and said, you know, I need to get this test done. I don't have insurance, but I could pay cash. What will it cost me? It's $1,200. So she goes, really, $1,200? That's it? She said, oh yeah, no problem, you know, you're paying cash. So she got it done there. And she came back and said, well, here's the deal. So $1,200 if you pay cash, with $5,000 if you have insurance. It doesn't make sense, except somebody obviously is bleeding the system dry. And this is where healthcare costs are so fucking outrageous. And it's true. My wife said the same thing. Before she got, you know, Medicare, because she got it, you know, 65, even though she retired at 62. You have to wait 2 years. But before she got that, she was paying cash for things, you know. And it was cheap. Well, not totally cheap, but it was a lot cheaper than it is now that she's got insurance. You know. And it's bullshit. It's not right. Oh, you're right, Russ. Our country is corrupt. I mean, to the point where it doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not saying we should all have free health care, because nothing in life is free. But I think for what we pay for insurance, it should cover everything, and there should be no out-of-pocket expense after you pay for your insurance. Now me, I'm lucky because, I'm diabetic and disabled, and I don't pay the monthly fee on my Medicare. It's because I'm on the extra help. So my drugs are cheaper. I pay very, very small, if anything. Most of my medications are free. And the primary doctor visit $0. That's free. If I go to a specialist like a cardiologist, it costs me $10 for a visit, which is fine. Now, the cardiologist wanted to have a ultrasound done on my heart, which is a waste of time, mind you, because it doesn't show anything. But I said, all right, because I figured my insurance would pick up the tab. So I go, he made the appointment for me. And they said, well, you're going to need it. There's a $100 copay. Well, how come? Well, because that's the deal. That's the copay on it. I said, well, I don't need it done. It ain't going to show nothing. I had a cardiologist in the past tell me that those ultrasounds are a waste of time because they don't show anything. Right before I had my first heart attack, I had ultrasounds done. I said, oh man, you're in great shape. Nothing's clogged. Everything's good. You should have no problems. 2 months later, I have a fucking heart attack. I thought everything was fine. So he says, look, we can't see anything in those scans. The only way we can tell if there's a plugged artery is to go in there and look. I said, well, thanks for telling me that. So why do they do these fucking scans? He says, money. I said, so yeah, they'll do a $1,200 ultrasound, which I would have to pay $100 towards. And for what? It doesn't show anything anyway. Plus, if the guy who reads them doesn't know what he's doing, if there is a problem, he wouldn't see it anyway. No, we're not doing that. I'm tired of these fishing expeditions. It's like I had the same doctor. He says, when's the last time I had an eye exam? When I got my fucking cataract surgery done. It's like 7 years ago. Well, you need to see an eye doctor every year. I said, why? Well, because you do. Because you're diabetic. I said, yeah. So why do I need to see an eye doctor? Well, you could get, diabetic retinopathy in your eyes. I said, yeah, I could. I said, I'll know if I do, because it'll fuck up my vision. So until that changes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So he got all pissed off. He said, well, you need to go do it. I said, well, I'm not going to. I said, you know what? I said, they radiate your eyes. The last time right before the cataract surgery, they radiated my eyes. They did like a CAT scan, but they do it on your eye instead. It fucked up my vision for a couple of months. They don't want to talk about that. I said, there's no reason to do it. They knew what the problem was. I had cataracts. You didn't need a fucking CAT scan to see that. They could see that just by looking in my eye. So this other shit was just, like routine bullshit that, I had to pay for, by the way. I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. From now on, you do what I tell you, and that's the way it goes, I'm the guy paying you. Oh yeah, I know I got insurance, but still, I'm the guy telling you what to do the job, when to do it. If I listened to you, I'd been dead a long time ago. There's another fucking notification. That's from Google, by the way, because I've got the website opened up on my monitor, and it's a Google Chrome, and I'll have to figure out how to turn that shit off because it's stupid. It says the medical industry causes us lower income people so much extra stress we die earlier. The ultimate irony. Yeah, that's probably true. I don't stress because, like I said, if I don't want to do something, I simply don't do it. Like I said, with the ultrasound they want me to do, went back to see the doctor. He says, well, you didn't get it done. I said, well, no, because I had to pay $100. I don't have $100. I did, but that's not the point, I said, I'm not going to, it doesn't do any good for me to go broke to do a test that shows nothing. Well, that's not. I don't give a fuck what you say. I've had cardiologists, previous cardiologists, that told me those tests are worthless. That you don't know anything until you go inside and find out. I tend to believe that more than I trust a test. You know. And I told him the story about the heart attack. I said, I had my first heart attack. 2 months prior, I had ultrasounds done. Everything was good. No blockages. Everything was free. All good to go. And what happens? I had a fucking heart attack. And when they went in there, and one of my arteries was 90% clogged, and the other one I think was like 40% clogged. Why didn't the ultrasound pick that up? You know why? Because it's a fucking worthless test. He shut up after that, but you know. So I'm saying, I'm not telling, I don't care anymore. You know what? Look, nobody lives forever. As much as we want to, we know it won't happen. We're all going to die at some point. Hopefully not anytime soon. You know, I mean, if there's a problem, you generally know it anyway. You know. But if there's not a problem, why go looking for one? And that's what these doctors do, you know. My wife's so pissed off at the doctors. It ain't funny because they want her to do this, do that. She said, I'm not doing any of that. I don't blame you, you know. Ultrasounds are high. Yeah, they are unreliable. Like you said, either they don't show what's going on or the guy reading it doesn't really know what he's doing. You know, you can become an ultrasound tech with very minimal schooling and make crazy money, but that don't mean you're any good at it. And they do make great money, man. You know, I thought about that once. Maybe I should get in the medical industry and make real money, but I don't think I would work well because I would tell people the truth, you know. Because I got no reason to lie to anybody. As I said, I never wanted to become a doctor because I always figured doctors were corrupt anyway, you know. Plus, I didn't have the money to get the education for one, which is another ridiculous amount thing too, you know. It costs like $1 million to become a doctor. Why? Yeah. The training should technically be free or very, very minimal. We need good doctors out there, and they know only the rich ones can afford to become doctors. Unless you're a minority, then you get in on a grant, but I'm kind of leery of minority doctors, too. I'm not talking about blacks. I'm talking any minority. You know. I'd rather have a white guy looking at me. I'm sorry, I just do, you know. Call it what you want. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's just, I think if we had the right people in Washington, now, Kennedy's a good guy, but I think even he's limited. They're not going to let him fix everything, you know. I say, well, we'll give him a little bit just to shut him up, but we're not going to let him really come down and, you know, tell the absolute truth. And I'm sure he knows that he can't say anything, but, you know, I mean, they're already bad-mouthing him anyway, you know. He thinks he can do this. Well, he can, because that's his job. But, you know, if he gets too stupid, they'll just kill him. You know. That's the way it works in D.C., man. If you step over a certain line, you wind up getting suicided. Yeah. Oh, he shot himself in the back of the head 12 times. Yeah, how did he pull that one off? It's happened. It was some guy shot himself, I think it was 7 times. Shot himself in the back of the head 7 times. And they called it suicide. How did he get past the first one? You know. And they think we're so stupid we buy into this crap, you know. So they said all my neck arteries were 90% blocked. The vascular surgeon looked at it and said it was not that bad at all. Scared the shit out of me for no reason. That was 10 months ago. Yeah, I worry about that too, because, you know, like you said, when they fixed me up six or 7 years ago, the last heart attack, I was in rough shape, man. You know, I had pneumonia, kidney failure, The Widowmaker was 100% blocked. I should have been dead, really, but, through the grace of God, I'm still here. And, they put in 4 more stents, and I got a pacemaker because my heart was... They were talking, heart transplants. Nope, not happening. Why not? Because I'm not doing it. I came with this heart, I'll go with this heart. We're not putting another one in. Well, I don't know why you feel like, because I had a friend who had a heart transplant. He made it 7 years. Most of those 7 years were agony for him. I'm not doing it, They said, oh, well, I don't know if we can fix you nice. Well, that's your job to try and try it. So and then my heart function at that time was 22%. Anything below 25%, they really recommend a heart transplant. So I'm not doing it, So they put me on these 1 pills that's supposed to strengthen your heart. Carvedilol, I still take them. Last time I saw the cardiologist down in Naples, he says, he was judging by your blood test and what we can tell, he says, your heart function's up over 68%. I said, no shit. He says, yeah, you're getting better, man. I don't know how, but you are. I said, all right, well, that's cool. Grace of God or positive thinking. I don't know which, maybe both. Same thing when I was in the hospital with that mess. My kidneys were failing because they poisoned my kidneys with the dye they use to look in your arteries. And they pump you full of dye. Well, the dye is real hard on your kidneys. I didn't get to die once, but 3 fucking times. Twice down in Naples, once up in Orlando. So after they fixed me up, a new pacemaker, the stents, he says, your kidney function's terrible. He says, we're going to keep you here until it improves. I said, that's fine, it'll get better. He said, all right, if you believe that. And it did. So he says, we're going to recommend that you see a kidney doctor when you go back home. So I got one. I still see him. And the first thing he says, you're probably going to need a kidney transplant. Not happening, Doc. Why not? Because we're just not doing it. If this one goes, then that's it. I'm dead. We're not fucking around with that shit. I don't want to deal with it. I know somebody who got a kidney transplant. It failed on him. He almost died the second time. He's on a second kidney now. Hope he's doing well. And you know what I'm talking about. One train guy. I can't remember his name now. And, I just don't want to go through that shit. Because if they could, they're talking that someday they'll be able to print new organs that your body won't reject. When they get to that point, I would consider it if necessary, You print me up a new kidney, pop it in there, and we're good to go. No rejection, no problems. But I don't think they can do that just yet. So I told him, I said, I'm either going to get better or I'm going to die. He says, I don't know, man. You're going to need a transplant. Every 3 months he was seeing me. The second 3 months I went there, he says, I don't know how you did it, but your kidney function improved like 80 or 90%. I told you. What do you mean? I said, my body heals itself, man. I don't know how. It's grace of God or something I'm doing right. I don't know which. So my kidneys are in good shape. They're not 100%, but he says if your kidneys stay where they're at, you should live another 50 years. Well, I'm not going to live 50 years. Hadn't put me over 100. That's not likely. But he says as long as it doesn't get, decline again. And every time I go, it gets a little bit better. He said, I don't know what you're doing. I said, I don't know. I'm doing what I want, Because he's the one telling me, well, don't drink more than 6 glasses of water every day. Don't eat this food. Don't eat. I don't listen to none of that shit. And when you're thirsty, you drink. Because what was happening was I was getting dehydrated. Well, that ain't good either. So I started drinking more to keep my dehydration in check. And it seems to be working for me. Thanks, Rush. I appreciate that. I'm glad I'm here, too. And Rick says, I wouldn't want somebody else's parts of me. Well, the problem is rejection. I said, my friend Wayne, he fucked up big time. He All right, Lee, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. He went out and he did some acid. You know, dumbass. He was 20 years old. Comes back 3 days, because we hadn't seen him in 3 days. You know, I didn't know if he's dead or not. He calls me up. He says, man, you got to pick me up and take me to the hospital. I said, what's going on? He says, I don't feel good at all, man. My chest hurts. He says, I need to go to the hospital. I said, all right, where are you? I'll come get you. So I went and got him, brought him to the hospital. Turns out his fucking heart was failing. It was from the acid. So they told him, they said, you know, because he admitted to it. He said, you know, I did some hits of acid. And he says, well, you know, if you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't have had any heart problems until you're well into your 70s or 80s. Because he had a latent issue with his heart that was more congenital, but it wouldn't have affected him for a long time. But doing the acid kicked it off. So they told me, you're going to have a transplant. And this was almost 30 years ago. So he got on the list. It took 8 months. He finally they picked the heart. It was off a young kid. He was like 27 at that point. Wayne was. And an 17 or 18-year-old kid got in a motorcycle wreck. But his heart was okay, but the rest of him was fucked up. So he got that kid's heart. They put it in. Now here's another thing that kicks my ass too. Pisses me off. He didn't have to pay for it. The government did, you know, insurance or something. But the heart itself was $175,000. This kid died and gave his heart for free so that the hospital could charge Wayne, or actually the government, $175,000 for a heart that they didn't pay a fucking dime for. It's bullshit. Well, anyway, they did it. The whole thing was like almost $1 million. The operation, the heart, all the other crap. He got the heart, he's doing good, but anti-rejection medicine, which is was a steroid, and it makes you want to eat. Well, he was already a little overweight anyway. Not bad, but you know, he's probably about 20 over. Well, the steroid, to keep him from rejecting the heart, made him eat and eat and eat. Before you know it, when he finally died, he was, I think, 310 pounds. And he couldn't do anything about it. He had to eat because the drug made you hungry. You know, you had to satisfy that hunger. So that was a problem. And of course, there's another thing that everybody gets, but your body naturally finds. It's a sickness. It's like a flu. But in his case, it was potentially deadly. He got it twice in 7 years. Had to be hospitalized for 6 weeks each time. So, you know, he moved back up. I moved him back up to Illinois because they really wouldn't help him down in Florida. So he says, can you bring me up to Illinois? He says, they'll take care of me up there. I get, you know, cheap housing, free medical, everything. I said, no problem. So I took him up there, and we kept in touch, and I think I talked to him about a week before he died. And he kind of admitted, he says, you know, he says, I'm just so tired. He says, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, yeah, that kind of sucks, but you got to push on, man, you know. You don't want to die. Because he was like, what? He got the heart, he was 27. I think he died at 31, I think. 30 or 31, I don't remember which. He went to sleep and never woke up. His brother called me up. He says, you know, Wayne passed last night. I said, really? He said, yeah, I think he wanted to. I said, yeah, I think you're right, you know. I felt bad for him, but then again, I kind of felt a relief for him, too. And it was at that point, I think that's when I made a promise to myself that I'm not taking anybody else's parts, you know. The good Lord gave me what I got, and I'm going to kind of keep it if possible. You know. So it's a shame that happened, but, I mean, he did. He suffered for the whole 7 years he was alive. It was one thing after another, you know. Of course, you know, he had issues, too. I mean, he was still drinking, still smoking pot. He didn't do any hard drugs, but he was smoking pot. It's Wayne. Stop, man. You're not helping yourself. What else am I going to do with my life? I said, I don't know. but that's probably not the right way to go. You know. And, you know, and of course I had to drive up there to attend his funeral because his family wanted me to be one of the pallbearers. So I did. I got in the car, flew up there, you know, drove up there, and I don't do funerals real well, but, you know, as I'm saying, it just, in his case, he brought on something that shouldn't have. And that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't, the only thing I ever did was, you know, I did speed, you know, what they call black beauties when I was a teenager. And it was great because you could stay up a lot. And I smoked a little bit of pot for a while, and I got tired of that because I don't like being high. I wouldn't touch cocaine. They didn't have crack yet. I wouldn't have touched it anyway. I wouldn't do heroin. I wouldn't do none of that shit, man. Acid. Acid was around all over the place. You know, you want to hit? Nope. You keep that shit, man. I don't need to fucking die today. You know. I remember when I was in high school, drugs killed more people than not. You know, you'd be walking down the hallway between classes. Guy drops down, fucking hits dead. He's fucking dead. What happened? He OD'd. Holy shit, really? You know, it was almost a weekly affair in my high school. Most of my graduating class fucking died. That was another reason I wouldn't touch that shit. I'm not joining that club. You know? So, it is what it is, but I just didn't feel like it was necessary to, you know, risk my, I mean, I did enough risk-taking as it is. I love speed, you know, like driving fast. And I did things in cars most people wouldn't even attempt. Motherfucking outbite. I'll have to get that out of my computer. That's the way it's doing that. You know, I took chances with things. I had guns pointed to my head. There was a few times I thought I was dead. 17, you know. Another friend of mine, he was a real asshole. We were good friends, but he was an asshole. He was always doing stupid shit, you know. Well, his dad blamed me for it, because I think he told him that I convinced him to do these things like stealing and vandalizing. I didn't do none of that shit, you know. So I'm out hitchhiking one day, and next thing, Ray's father comes up and steps out of the truck, has a .38 revolver, fucking pulls the hammer back, puts it up to my head. He says, I should kill you for what you've done to my son. What the hell are you talking about? Well, you're the reason he's always getting in trouble. I said, I don't think so, you know. And I was scared shitless, man. I was 17 years old. I thought I was going to die that day. But there was no fucking way in hell I was going to let that motherfucker see that. Because I was a stubborn asshole, too. And I looked him dead in the eye and said, well, you do what you got to do. Meanwhile, I'm literally ready to shit myself because I thought I was dead, you know. Turns out it wasn't a real gun. It was a starter pistol. I didn't know that. Anyway, he uncocked it, got back in the truck, and drove off. Because he wanted me to beg for my life. I said, I ain't going to do that. You're going to kill me anyway. I'll die with some fucking dignity staring you in the fucking eye, you know. Not because I'm a badass or anything, because that's just the way I look at things. You know, when you're in a situation where you can't change it, you got two ways. You can either cry and beg for your life or stand tall and say, yeah, do what you got to do. And that's what I did, you know. Now, I've had guns pointed at other people, you know. I had three guys beat the hell out of me in my own front yard for something I didn't do. I was so pissed off, I dragged myself in the house, got my gun, got back in the car, went looking for him. You know, I wasn't going to kill him, but I was going to put the fear of God in him. And that's exactly what I did. I caught him at a Circle K, pulled up behind him so he couldn't get out. Kid had his driver window open. I grabbed him by the hair, shoved my fucking 45 right in his fucking mouth and says, give me a reason why I shouldn't kill you right where you sit. That motherfucker was crying, begging for his life. The other two assholes that were kicking my ass, they were begging for, oh, please, sir, don't shoot us. We made a mistake. We're really sorry. Oh, too late for that shit. Y'all gonna die today. You know, I'm sure they all shit themselves probably. I don't care. And I said, you know what? I said, none of y'all are worth it, but if I ever see you again, I will fucking kill you wherever you are. And I pulled the gun out of the kid's mouth and got in my car and left. You know. Them motherfuckers were so scared it wasn't funny. You know, and what they should have done was probably look me in the eye and go, you know, do what you got to do. I wasn't going to shoot them anyway, obviously, but they didn't know that. Rick says, I rode dirt bikes and raced, took many risks. Well, yeah, same here. I played with dirt bikes for a while. Like I said, mostly cars, but, you know. I built a go-kart. Had a 6-cylinder Ford engine on it. It was a go-kart, mind you. And I got clocked doing 130 down 41. And, you know, our highway in Naples. I'll look at it and go to jail, but they gave me an option. You sell this thing, or next time we see you on it, you're going to get arrested. So I sold it. But they clocked me doing 130. No roll cage, no roll bars, just a basic open frame with a seat and the engine in front of me, and I sat on the transmission. I had a gas pedal and a brake, and that was about it, you know. It was fun, though, you know. And this one kid well, he was a guy, wasn't a kid. A friend of mine's brother. He had a 65 Corvette Stingray split window. Beautiful car. He had a 454 to put in it, but he really wasn't much of a mechanic. And he says, you do this stuff. I said, yeah, I could do it. He said, what would you want if you did it for me? I says, I want to be the first to drive the car when it's running. That's it. He said, all right, here's the deal. So I put, me and him, we worked together. We put the engine in, got everything running right and shit. Now, I lived in Naples Park, which is a residential area. We had 8th Street, 7th Street, and 6th Street, which were, basically through roads in the park. And the avenues all had stop signs. So if you were like on 95th, where I live, there was a stop sign on each of the streets. But the street was straight through. They changed that later on, probably because of me. Well, I went down to 110th in the vet, turned around, and fucking see what it does, because there was no license or anything on it, So I couldn't really take it up 41, and there was probably too much traffic on 41 anyway. So I wound up doing 165 miles an hour down 8th Street in Naples Park. If somebody would have blew a stop sign, well, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. It would have been it. I'd have been dusted then, and there would have been nothing left of the car or me. And I probably would have went faster, but I was running out of road, and I knew it because I went from 110th to 91st. And around 96th, I started braking because I figured I got nowhere to go, if I don't start braking now. I did make it to 165. I think the car would have went faster than that, and that was the scariest ride I ever took. If you ever rode an old vet like that, they're like rock wagons. Log wagons, that's what he said. You felt every pebble in the road. You're in this cockpit. You're bunched in there like this, and everything's shaking and bumping and everything else. I'm thinking, doing 165 and something like that is insanity. I wouldn't do it today. But, 17, you figure you're not going to die. You're going to, and I didn't. I thought I was invincible, man, or immortal, whatever. I wasn't, of course, but, I took a lot of stupid chances and did a lot of stupid things. And lived to tell the tale. And many of you guys, did similar things, or did things that, probably, according to today's standards, would have killed you. I rode my bicycle without a helmet everywhere. If you do that today, you'll get killed doing that shit. Well, we didn't back then. I didn't wear seatbelts then. I don't wear them now. The only time I wore a seatbelt, there was this car out in the woods, and it was stolen, I think. All the glass was busted out of it, but I was able to hotwire and get it running. I don't remember what it was. It was some foreign thing. And I got it running, and there was a dirt road there that you can go. Well, there was a big ditch beside it. I'd never rolled a car before. So there's no glass in it, so I don't have to worry about getting cut up with glass. I did wear a seatbelt for that because I didn't want to get thrown out of it. And I was doing about 70 miles an hour down dirt road, and I dropped it in the ditch and rolled it. It was fun. Didn't get hurt. Of course, I left the car there on its roof, But I did it because I could. Would I do that now? Fuck no. Rick says, I had a 71 Corvette Stingray back in the 80s. They were nice cars, too. Once again, though, fiberglass. My neighbor had one. We were playing football in my front yard. I went to catch the ball and lost my balance and fell back into this Corvette's door. I shattered the door. And that wasn't as big as I am now. I was like 140 pounds. And still busted the door. I had to buy him a new fucking door. Come on. There ain't no way I'll ever have a fiberglass vehicle, you know. They're just not very strong. But, you know. So, you know, like I said, we've all done things and we lived through them. And I think we were a better class of people back then, you know. We weren't, you know, pussied out or whatever. Or pussified by the government or our parents, you know. They say wrap your ass in fiberglass. Well, if you do, you'll be disintegrated with the fiberglass. I remember when I was a kid up north, an old Corvette was probably like a 63, 64, somewhere around. Well, whenever they first started using fiberglass, I was pretty young, so I wasn't sure of the year in it, but something happened. I don't know if he lost his brakes or wasn't paying attention. It was right on our street. I was up in my bedroom, the second story, and happened to be looking out the window. Actually saw it happen. He slammed in the back of a dump truck. The only thing left of that vet was the chassis and the engine. The body was completely disintegrated. It burst into flames. The guy died instantly. And there was no damage to the dump truck at all. And that was about the time I decided no fiberglass vehicles for me. You know, if it ain't metal, it ain't happening. But, you know, it is what it is. So. But, you know, like I said, we, as kids, we didn't have, you know, well, you know, all you guys that are my age group or older. You remember what it was like. You rode your bicycles all day. The only time you came home was when the streetlights came on. Because if you didn't, you get your ass beat by your dad or your mom. And we went all over the town on our bicycles. We did all kinds of shit. You know, we didn't commit crimes. But we had fun, you know. And we took chances. My dad made me a wooden go-kart once. It wasn't powered, so you had to take it. Where the school was, there was a hill. The school was on top of the hill, and that was a good place to get on the go-kart and run downhill, you know. Freewheel down there. Well, he didn't put brakes on it. And like an idiot, I went down there, and of course I wrecked. Yeah. It was going good till that curb stopped me. And before that, and I was after that, because I wouldn't ride it anymore. I said, no brakes, no problem, you know. So like an idiot, I did it in a little red wagon the next time. Because at least I could, you know, steer it better. But once again, no brakes. So when it hit the curb, I flew into the handle, and I still have the scar. I don't know if you can see it or not. These cameras aren't that good. There's a little scar right here on the corner of my eye that I got from the handle. They said another inch you would have lost your eye. You know, because I had to go to the hospital and shit. And they stitched me up, and I said I have the lifetime scar there, but, you know. The only thing it taught me is don't go down hills in anything without brakes. And I didn't after that, you know. But, you know, that's how we learned. We learned through experience and through trials and errors. More error than trial. Let's see. Thompson Gym, 1 part finished tower. Walls have 41 minutes yet on the Mini. Cool. Well, this one already stopped. I still got more parts to make. But I redid it. It looks better this time. I'm finding out that you don't want to put too many parts on the build plate at once, because you run into problems. That came out good. This stuff came out good this time. I got the cabinet done. The instrument bench. This is the bottom piece. No warp, it just time came out perfectly. And I'll have to pull the plate for this stuff here. I did the antenna, the railings, and the chairs. Chairs came out good. They pop right off. Except for one broke. See if I can get that antenna off through without breaking it. Oh yeah, it came right off. Got my little antenna. And the railings, they came off. They came out good. The railings there, I got 4 of them. Yeah, it was only a 2.5 hour print, so that was pretty good. So I should probably start on the rest of this, but let me put the build plate back on. I love this fucking A1, man. I'm so glad I finally broke down and bought it. I waited too long to get it. I should have got it a long time ago. But, you know, I'm a little slow sometimes with new tech. Yeah, this is the bottom piece. This came out good. And I got the tower section here. It goes over there like that. I can't assemble this till I paint everything. Tom, what color are you going to paint yours? I don't know what colors to use. I didn't really want to do red. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might use... I don't know what color I'm going to use. But I thought red would be too obvious. Yeah, I got to get the middle plate for this. And then that goes on top of that like that. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. I'll have to look at the picture again, but it'll be good when I'm done with it. So I'm looking forward to it. I may make more than one too, because, you know, I might put a couple of them up around the layout. Hard telling yet. Getting a little warm in here too. Let me put the air back on. So yeah, anyway, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And what else do I got to do with my life, right? But all right, listen, I'm going to wrap this up so I can get back to printing. It's already 20 after 3, and I still got a few more hours of print to go. Oh, I printed a switch tower. A modern one, so you know, this is the main building of it right here, and this is the bottom part of the supports, and there's a whole bunch of pieces to it that I still got to print. It's got a very detailed interior. It's got a circular staircase that sits at the top. That's pretty cool. Oh well, you can see that. There you go. It's got chairs, tables, a cabinet. Cabinet came out pretty good. This little cabinet there. It's going to be nice. I'll show it to y'all probably next week when it's finished. And I'll paint it up, and I'll show you pictures of it before I mount it and afterwards. So anyway, I'm going to get off of this thing. I'm going to call it a success, so we'll probably be using OBS next week. And because so far it seems okay. But we'll see. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me as always. And we'll see you Thursday, 6 o'clock. Always 6 o'clock. There was some issues with the timestamps on the StreamYard. I don't know why, but the time was wrong on my computer. And I guess when I set the StreamYard times, it changed everything. But I'm pretty much always coming on at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, now I think we're on what, Daylight Savings Time? I think? I don't know. Anyway, 6 o'clock Thursday. We'll see you then. In the meantime, have a good weekend. Have fun. Be safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which of course leaves you wide open. And we'll see you Thursday. I'm going to run the outro just for shits and giggles. Yeah, I got to change the size of that too by the looks of it.